This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Welcome to episode 213 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Cody, I'm feeling a little better this week
Good.
than I was last week. My wife watched the show back, and she said she could tell every time that I cut away from me and muted my mic, and I came back on camera that I looked like this, like I just died. So hopefully,
I'm glad that we have a fan though that's watching our episodes. That's good.
Yeah, my wife watches them like on a Tuesday morning. I'm like, I hear our voices coming out of her office, and like, oh, it's either that or CNN that she's watching. So we're in good company. It's us or Wolf Blitzer, I guess, that gets her through the day.
Yeah.
So,
That's good company. I'll be in that company.
Hi, Andrea. In 2 days.
Hi.
Hi. Listen. Thanks for listening. So how was your week? Did you go to a theater at all this week, Cody? I know you went last week.
I don't think I went this week. I was going to, but there was there's kind of like that with, as you know, we're seeing with only covering one movie today. It's a little bit low on stuff that's out right now. So no theater for me this week, though. I should be going in the next couple weeks. I mentioned to you. Are you going to say something?
No. I'm just, when you're done, I'm gonna.
Oh yeah. So no, I bought. There's a one-night engagement of Bo Burnham's Inside, which I purchased tickets to. So I'll be going to that on I think it's like the 22nd or something like that. Yeah,
at Alamo Drafthouse, right?
Yeah, it's not exclusively there, and it's kind of nationwide opening, but
okay.
Yeah, it's opening for one night. Yeah, it's a one-night engagement theatrically, and then Drafthouse is just the one that's showing it locally.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought it was a Drafthouse thing specifically.
No,
just someone's Netflix account. They're like,
yeah, connected to the screen. Yeah.
I was gonna say, though we didn't go to the theater this week, plenty of people did. To segue into our news story today, Black Widow, the film we're reviewing today, opened number 1 at the box office. Apparently just beating Furious. No, wait, is it F9?
F9.
Sorry,
yeah.
F9. And then the big number coming from Disney Plus. Cody, do you have that number?
Yeah, so this is the first time that Disney is actually releasing figures for one of their Premier Access movies. So at this point, it's been Mulan. It's been there was one other.
It was Cruella. And was there something else? Was there a third? Raya and the Last Dragon, right?
Yes, because that was Disney Animation, right? That wasn't Pixar.
It wasn't Pixar. Yeah.
So I think it was those 3, and then now Black Widow, and they haven't released numbers on them. And they finally this week released numbers, which were that on Premier Access worldwide, Black Widow made $60 million on Disney Plus Premier Access. Now, that figure is impressive in and of itself, assuming that, they're not counting subscriptions. That means that 2 million households, purchased the movie. But the thing that we all have to remember when it comes to this thing, which is sort of one of the driving forces behind streaming being an interesting option, is that that's $60 million right in Disney's pocket. Whereas, I think it made what was it?
I think it was 80 million. Yeah,
like
just about 80 million.
80 million going to the theatrical, which, I think about half of that is split with the movie theater. So, the revenue for Disney Plus is far greater than it is for theatrical, because they don't have to split the money. So when you think about it that way, it's a huge number. And interesting, too, that it coincides with a pretty big number theatrically, too. And there's a lot of, box office writers or, theater writers that are saying that, oh, well, this wouldn't be that great for a Marvel opening. Well, it's still pandemic times. It's still like the biggest movie to come out since the pandemic has happened. So there's that. And also, $60 million on streaming is proof of concept. I mean, that proves that it works. In those, and also it's proved that a day and date can work, because those are big numbers both ways. So I don't know. I feel like everyone should probably be happy at this. But but the theatrical diehards are gonna complain no matter what, you know.
Right, but you see though the comparison there is that F9, Fast and Furious 9 made 79-ish million, something like that, just on box office alone, with no streaming options. So the idea that Black Widow would have been bigger, I don't think that's really up for debate. If you talk about theatrical releases in the before times, a Marvel movie is always probably going to outperform Fast and Furious. I'm curious though, like you said, this is the first time they've released the numbers, meaning this is probably the first time they've been anywhere near that good.
Probably.
Which begs the question, how are they counting? Are they counting the $30 on top of the subscription? Or are they talking? Are they counting the subscription price, whatever that may be? I think it's relatively inexpensive comparatively. It's not like an HBO Plus, which I think tops out at $14.99. I don't know what the top out Disney Plus. Either way, there's an awful lot of money that came from streaming alone. I've asked this question every time, is could you replicate this in a normal scenario? And I'm guessing probably close.
Yeah.
And probably for a Marvel movie. And it doesn't hurt that this is a Marvel excuse me.
Oh,
a Marvel
God, here
movie.
it is again.
It's barely there. It's barely there, but hopefully it won't overtake things. It doesn't hurt that it's a Marvel movie, the first one since Endgame in 2 years theatrically, plus all the priming of the pump Disney Plus has done on the streaming service itself with Loki, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and with WandaVision, just making people more excited. Which, as you will hear from the review, Black Widow is probably not the most anticipated character film in a while. It's not
right.
It's a prequel that sort of fills in the blanks. So it's not the anticipation that's there. I don't know how you replicate it. Can you replicate that? If this film were coming out, after Spider-Man this year or after whatever.
I think a real test would be if they release Shang-Chi on Disney Plus, which is, I think, scheduled to come out in September, if I'm not mistaken. And so if they do that and they bring about, launching a new character that doesn't have the background, that doesn't have that, and they can do numbers launching a character origin story, and that's successful, then I think it's proof of concept. We're still not removed from, the at-home experience being the definite, it having all the benefits it does of not having to be outside and in the middle of a pandemic. But I think if we're trying to see, can a movie be successful like that doesn't have necessarily the built-in audience of having Avengers movies forever and having the character follow along. Yeah.
And, it's going to benefit, I think, anyway, at least for now, when no one's getting in the way of these Marvel movies. They're getting the weekend box office to themselves. It's not opening against something else. So releasing theatrically and on Disney Plus is probably a viable option for Disney, Marvel moving forward. Now, if there's a sense of weakness that may arise in these characters that are coming up that are, less prominent, you're trying to start these new franchises with Shang-Chi, with it's the Eternals, right? Not the Immortals. The Immortals was the TV show that everyone hated. The Eternals.
Right. Yeah.
If you're trying to start these new franchises and they perform okay, then maybe you have, someone come in and counter program that weekend also with something else, because right now you go to the movies and you're gonna see Black Widow. You're gonna see Black Widow, and if you haven't, you're gonna see Fast 9 that you missed last time. But if there's another option that when that happens, then there won't be this day and date success, perhaps, with something in the future. You won't have the top box office movie and this massive streaming number.
Right.
So who knows? I don't know. It's still being figured out, and it's still, I don't know if you knew anyone that went to see that chose. Did you know anyone that chose watching it at home over going to see it at the theater?
No, I think everyone I know went to a theater to see it. That wasn't like one of us who accessed it via screener. Yeah,
because I have my friend. I was talking to him. I texted him yesterday or Friday, asking him. God damn it, asking him which they were going to do, and he said that he and his wife were planning on buying it at home to watch it, and then making that also their first experience back at a theater. Because they hadn't been back yet.
Yeah.
So, and he said if they were to get uncomfortable, at in the theater setting, they're in LA. So, they're slower. They've been slower to open back up than we have. And plus, I think they were ArcLight fans and they got fucked out of their theater. So.
Oh yeah.
Sadly. I don't know that Black Widow's the movie I would see twice like that. But it was an interesting concept to buy it at home and then go watch it at the theater. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many people would do that. Maybe vice versa.
Yeah, and I think the one thing too that I know previously, and I don't know if this is the case with this one, but when you purchase Black Widow, do you own it as long as you have Disney Plus, like it was with Mulan?
I think what you get, and I may be wrong on this. What I've read in passing is you have that access until it hits Disney Plus for everyone, and then it's there.
Yeah,
you basically are buying like a 3-month exclusivity window on Disney Plus.
And so I hear a lot of people talk about like how there's some theatrical nerds out there who will tell you, well, it cuts into, DVD or Blu-ray sales or something like that with it, which again, no, it being on streaming cuts into that, if anything else. But yeah. Ooh, here we go again.
Oh, want to be famous?
I mean, kind of.
Bigfollows.com.
Yeah. Thank you, Vimy Siek 2239. I'm going to give that a consideration.
So bigfollows.com will make us famous or just get us followers?
Well, I think it gets us followers, and then that makes us famous.
What are primes?
I think those are like subscriptions.
Like you're priming the pump?
No, I think so. Prime and Twitch are connected, where you get like Prime subscriptions and stuff.
Wait, Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
Oh,
you should know about this platform that we're on.
Probably. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about whenever I try to integrate into Twitch with something popular, let's just say, not our show, this comment stream is just scrolling by at a nonsensical pace where you can't read it at all.
You should do it with what our old pal Steve Wiebe does and just Twitch your arcade room or that you have and just Twitch that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a little messy right now, but yeah. Because I've tried to do like a Mystery Science Theater. They have a Twitch channel, and I mean it's just this. It looks like it's running a script.
Yeah, you can't really you can't engage. Yeah. But on a channel as slow as ours, let's engage. So you can, baby.
Yeah, you can break through the noise and post. Want to become famous by followers, friends, and viewers on ***, big follows, space, period, space, com. So, anyway, thank you, Vimisiek. I appreciate that.
I was going to try to bounce him, but I don't think you can do that from StreamYard. So.
Yeah, well, whatever. Hey, it's an engagement. It's an engagement. Anything else before we move on?
No, I was gonna do a check-in on our YouTube channel because I think I was gonna check our subscriber numbers, but I can't get to it right now. So so if you're watching this and don't subscribe, youtube.com
smash that subscribe button.
Yeah.
What is it?
Is it /CineSnob? I don't even know.
Yeah. youtube.com/CineSnob. Never say backslash. Too many people got into saying backslash. And that's not right. That's for coding. But anyway, yeah. And nice little cul-de-sac here. Anything else before we move on? No,
I think we're good.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, and only up this week, of course, we have Black Widow.
It still fits.
Oh my god.
I never watched it once. Come and drink.
Rise, you workers of salvation. Family. Back together again.
Seeing as our family construct was just a calculated ruse that only lasted 3 years, I don't think that we can use this term anymore, can we?
Agreed. So here's what's gonna happen.
Okay, reunion then, huh? And, I want to say something right off the bat. You haven't aged a day, huh? You're just as beautiful and as supple as the day they staged our marriage.
You got fat, but still good.
All right. This is, of course, a prequel of sorts set between Captain America, set between the events of, is it Captain America?
It happens after Civil War.
I thought it happened. Yes, okay, you're right. It happens after Captain America Civil War, before Avengers Infinity War.
Right.
Because, of course, the Natasha Romanoff character played by Scarlett Johansson died in Avengers Endgame. But tell us about Black Widow, Cody, and what you thought of it.
Yeah, so it's interesting, which we're going to circle back around, I'm sure, in our closing thoughts about the place in the canon and in the lore of the MCU, and also when it's coming out. Because I think the first thing off the bat is this feels weird to be coming out now, and I think the whole movie would have benefited from coming out, when it takes place in the timeline. I think it would have been better. I think it would have made Natasha's death mean more at the end of Endgame, which I not to relitigate that whole thing, but I don't think that moment works very well in Endgame personally.
Especially because it's either her or the worst character, the worst
the
main
worst
character in Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think they kind of move on from it too quick in the scheme of the movie. It did not work for me. That being said, I think that the movie starts out really kind of interestingly, and I don't know that I loved it, but I think it's interesting that it kind of starts off with like a what seems like a long prologue. Seeing Natasha as a child and introducing this family that we later get to meet. And, I haven't seen the reference, but I have to imagine that it's very the Americans.
I mean, it is it's essentially exactly the Americans.
Yeah.
Which is a great TV show. And I do think that it's a very well done take on it in the film too. It like condenses, the kind of basic premise of the whole thing down to, 20 minutes, however long this lasts.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting to see Scarlett Johansson in this context where I think, because she hasn't had her own movie, that character of Natasha sort of goes through her arcs by means of her connection to other characters in the MCU. So like her relationship with Bruce is explored, and She has a closer friendship or whatever with like Chris Evans in some of the other movies, and then her, obviously her relationship with Hawkeye, like, and this is finally her getting to have her own story, which I think is interesting. The funny part about that is I think that she's the least interesting character in her own movie, because I think everything, is pretty decent up until we start meeting different characters that are part of her family. So, the character played by Florence Pugh, I think really kind of enhances everything. And then I think the movie really comes alive when David Harbour shows up, who I think is the best part of the movie. I think he gets to be very funny in it, and this sort of like running joke of him being like the Russian version of Captain America in that rivalry that is one-sided is a very funny running gag. And I think you get some really fun and entertaining action sequences. I like to see the sort of arc of Florence Pugh's character. And I said this to you when it ended, but it feels and acts like a backdoor pilot for me, where this is a Black Widow movie, but clearly this is a platform to set up Florence Pugh's character in the MCU. And so it accomplishes the two at the same time, where it is a Black Widow movie, but also it's an intro movie for her character. And the credit sequence just as much prove that to be the case.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it's one of my favorite post-credits sequences that Marvel has done. I don't want to get into too much about it. Suffice to say, it connects the movies and the TV shows in a really satisfying way, I think.
And the interesting part about that is, obviously, this was meant to be released last year,
right,
before the TV show. So that it still worked is good, and I think that's one of the things we talked about with them finally releasing the speculation with them finally releasing Black Widow on the Premiere Access was that they were trying to get ahead of anything that would interfere, like TV show wise,
right?
And I have to assume that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, it is kind of crazy that Scarlett Johansson is not the MVP of her own movie, but I think it's just a testament to the strength of, those two characters in particular who kind of buoy the movie and I think make it entertaining. I think the third act is maybe the least interesting part of the whole thing, and it becomes very heavy-handed in what it's trying to accomplish, especially as it pertains to something that character has probably been going through the course of the MCU. But again, it is a lesser entry, but like, did I enjoy it more than something like Captain Marvel? I did. I found this to be more entertaining than some of the lesser fare. So really what I should be saying is it falls somewhere in the middle. It's just inconsequential, and I think that's its big problem, is that because we know the fate of this character, it kind of sucks any kind of dramatic weight out of the whole thing, and also it feels resolved. So, like, that you're watching a setup movie for Florence Pugh, and that whatever happens with Natasha at the end, we know her fate, and again, it just, none of it really matters because we've seen what happens before it and we've seen what happens after it. And so just kind of wedging it into, the narrative of the MCU just feels a little unnecessary. That being said, it's enjoyable. I'll definitely give it that.
Yeah. I agree in that it's inconsequential, and I do think it is more enjoyable than something like Captain Marvel, because I think Captain Marvel tried to do a lot. Like Captain Marvel, I mean, obviously it's an origin story for the character, but then it tried to make its place in the bigger universe a little more of a a priority than building its own world, because it also added the Kree. Or no, wait, is it the Skrulls? Skrulls. She's Kree. Anyway, whatever. It also added the Skrulls, which apparently are a big part in this future phase 4. I guess this is phase 4, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe Black Widow is the first in phase 4.
Right. But the idea that it's all resolved and it's a Black Widow movie is, I think, the kind of the biggest issue here. Like you said, it's not really about her. And I don't know that we get any more insight into the character than we already had before. Because this is the basic thread of the film is following the stuff that was hinted at in, is it Age of Ultron? I believe the Red Room stuff where they're all of the widows are sterilized and can't have children. That's what sterilized means, obviously. But so it was this sort of throwaway piece of Avengers Age of Ultron that was, I don't know that it really motivated the character as much as other things. I don't know. Like you've said, her story has really been told through her interactions with other people, and given the opportunity to tell her story on its own, it's just telling a piece of it, while introducing these other characters, which have way more fun in the film than she does.
Yeah.
The beginning, it's a very good setup. I think, it does borrow heavily from the Americans. It also begs the question why Russia would send its version of Captain America on an undercover operation. But,
yeah,
whatever.
That's a good point.
Anyway, but what, like, really seriously, once Florence Pugh and David Harbour get together, they're great. I really like Florence Pugh. I really like David Harbour in this. And then you can tell the film is more about them, because then they have a scene together that doesn't need the Natasha character at all.
Right.
And then that's just played as another sort of off-screen Natasha thing. And that's the part of it. That's the part of it that I think is the most interesting. Like, even this movie doesn't let us entirely in on everything that she does.
No, not at all.
And it's a weird way to send the character off, because we're left to we see her as in the other films as the very competent partner character that always has some sort of ulterior motive happening and is able to accomplish things that were unexpected. And this film still does that to her. It still keeps her in the dark when that stuff, like, there's a scene, there's a thing that sets up the third act. You're like, oh, well, that would have been nice to kind of understand happening. Like, we didn't need this trickery that the movie threw at us, because that's what we're here for. We're here to find out about this character.
Yeah.
Like, and then instead she's playing second fiddle to Florence Pugh and to David Harbour, which makes sense because they're clearly, I guess she's clearly done with the role. I don't know. She hasn't kind of as definitively said it as someone like Chris Evans, but she got the ignoble send off in Endgame, and then it's an open secret that Florence Pugh is part of the Hawkeye series,
right? So,
it's a little bit of a disappointment if you're looking for a solid character piece on the Natasha Romanoff character.
And I think it's just straight up strange to like open a book that has been closed too, because I think that you can have this movie and make it like sort of like a Black Widow story, right, and not include Natasha at all, and just have it be this story about this family dynamic that she grew up in, and she could be absent for it, and I think the movie would not be any worse as a result of that. Which is not to say that Scarlett Johansson does a bad job or anything like that. It's just the more compelling stuff is in the characters we've never seen before, because we know what happens to Natasha. We know what she's done before, but then you have really compelling other characters. Like, I mean, I hope that David Harbour comes back. I don't know how, but I hope he comes back in some capacity because it's such a fun character. And Florence Pugh obviously is trending to be a massive star, and so they're definitely going to do more with her. So why not make it, a Black Widow story where you're kind of spinning it off in a way, which is the sort of the backdoor pilot idea. But
yeah, it feel, and this is a bad example because it's ended up terribly and everyone hated it. But you remember the Nikki and Polo segment of Lost?
Oh man,
where they went back and had like told these stories from these characters' point of view who were there all along. And everyone hated them, and they ended up like being buried alive or something. But it feels a little like that, like like a backdoor pilot in that way. Like you decide to go back and throw all these interesting characters in on the side, to the detriment of the main character, who again might as well have just left halfway through the film, or in a better version of this movie may have shown up, in a sparing sense. I don't know. I mean, then it wouldn't technically be a Black Widow movie, but I mean, I feel like it's a parting gift to Scarlett Johansson,
sure,
in a way, and I don't know that it necessarily is the best showcase for the character, who was always sort of on the peripheral anyway, introduced as like a red herring sex pot thing in Iron Man 2, to move on to like a really trusted ally in Winter Soldier, and then to like a sort of the linchpin in Civil War, and then
it is crazy how once again I think Winter Soldier proves to be like the best version of so many different things, because that is by far the best Black Widow appearance in the MCU, easily.
Yeah. Anyway, what is your grade for Black Widow, Cody?
I'm going to be a little bit generous and give it a B. I think it's on that B minus B sort of tilting point. But for me, I just think it was enjoyable. I think it was a fun watch. I think, like I said, the action sequences are entertaining. I think it's quite funny a lot of the time, especially the family dynamics of this whole thing. I think really, really push it forward, where, it's like, especially David Harbour's character, and his attitude towards the family dynamic and the characters within the family, I think really kind of make the movie come alive and create this sort of like bickering. And I think the bickering sisters thing between Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson is really great. As well, I like that sibling rivalry kind of thing that happens, and I just found myself enjoying that piece. So
just to mention that, I think Florence Pugh has some of the best lines in the film that are like reactive to people. Like the scene with her and Scarlett Johansson and David Harbour on the helicopter is gold. Mm-hmm. There's this running joke about the sort of superhero landing that Scarlett Johansson's character does. That Florence Pugh makes fun of. By the way, they made Rachel Weisz just nutty as a fucking fruitcake in this movie. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, she's the one that doesn't, like, she seems like she's in a really broad comedy half the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to give it a B minus just because I find it a little disappointing. I do appreciate that this is not a world-ending story. Again, it's just like them taking down this red room thing. But I feel like that whole thing is really undercooked and a little too on the nose to be as interesting as it should be. It just feels, I don't know. It feels like it's like, it's sort of a big shrug of things. But I do think it's more enjoyable than something like Captain Marvel, or like the first Ant-Man I wasn't a big fan of, or who knows what else. Something like Guardians 2, which just sort of went through the motions. Anyway, but it is available now on Disney Plus for $30, or you can go see it in the theater.
Yeah.
And it's a finally return to theaters for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which has been really cranking along in popularity with the TV shows. Are you up to date on Loki?
I'm a little behind on Loki right now. But I was gonna say it's a return to Marvel for theaters, and we're getting 3 more Marvel movies in theaters this year. So just kind of strap in. Because after being gone for 2 years, they're back with a vengeance.
By the way, Spider-Man: No Way Home sounds. If some of the things I've read about it are true, I mean, this movie may be nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, that's gonna do it for this week. Cody, next week, a busy week.
A busy week indeed. So the ones that we're for sure covering, we could not let the week pass without covering. Space Jam: A New Legacy, which I am getting less and less excited about the more I hear about it. If any of you saw the Porky Pig rap that came out this past week.
Dude, there's nothing about this. By the way, that's terrible. It's terrible. There's nothing about this that I've seen that's made it be like, oh, they really ruined the spirit of the first movie, because the first movie is fucking god-awful. And I know we've had this conversation before, but
yeah,
it's completely out of character. It's like a apocryphal Looney Tunes to the max.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Go ahead.
We also have so Space Jam: New Legacies on obviously HBO Max in theaters. We also have a Netflix movie coming out called Gunpowder Milkshake, starring Karen Gillan and Lena Headey. And then we have the Anthony Bourdain documentary Roadrunner. So it's, I believe the full title is like Roadrunner, a film about Anthony Bourdain, which I saw a couple weeks ago. And then, if we have time, I am intrigued by this Nicolas Cage movie called Pig.
Oh, yes.
That is that's coming out via, I believe Neon is releasing it. So
every Nicolas Cage movie that comes out now, it seems like it's just meant for like internet buzz.
I could see that. I enjoyed Color Out of Space. I had fun with that one. Which might be, I think, the last Nicolas Cage movie that or the only one of the, Nicolas Cage going crazy movies that really worked for me. Because, I don't know. I don't remember. A lot of people like Mandy. I did not like Mandy. And then I saw one at...
I didn't see Mandy.
I saw one at Sundance called Prisoners of the Ghostland. I was not a fan of. But I don't know. Pig might be good. I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. Find us on Twitter at CineSnob, Facebook, CineSnobNet, YouTube.com/CineSnob. We're there. All of our episodes are there unless they get copyright blocked. I'm hoping Disney doesn't block this one. It's a publicity clip you gave me for Black Widow. For the love of God, please don't put a copyright claim on it, Disney. But
we have another comment.
Oh, cool.
What up, y'all? Review any Jerry Nashville movie where he do pranks. I believe you mean Johnny Knoxville. And yeah, we'll cover Jackass when it comes out.
Dude, I am I think we both are self-avowed Jackass fans.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the fourth one supposed to be in theaters this fall.
Yeah,
Something
I think
like
it
that?
comes out in like October, maybe.
I mean, I'm boycotting it because of what they did to Bam.
Yeah,
trying to make him go to rehab. Fuck that.
Yeah, it comes out October 22nd.
Yeah, I mean those are. I mean, I don't think I've laughed harder than at a Jackass film.
No, those are the best. I think between seeing the Disaster Artist premiere and those Jackass movies, those are my favorite theatrical experiences of my life.
Yeah, I remember watching the 3D one, the Jackass 3D with those terrible active 3D glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Do they still do those anymore? Those were awful.
I haven't seen a 3D movie in a theater in years, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, they were terrible. Yeah, of course we'll do Jerry Nashville.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we go?
Nope. I think we're good.
All right. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafania.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit CineSnob.net. See you next week.